As I suspected, Dana White is in fact looking to book Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. That is the next fight Dana wants to put together, and it's a pretty smart business move on Dana's side and for Khamzat's future, but definitely not smart for Nate Diaz, unless he wins the fight, of course. I mean, if he wins a fight against Khamzat, who's looking to be a superstar in the sport, that would do huge for him, and it would be a money fight. This is a legitimate money fight, where Khamzat right now is one of the biggest names in the sport, but the style is just not favorable for Nate. This is not a style he wants to go up against, and actually, it's a kind of style that he's been avoiding for a while. He doesn't want the wrestlers. He doesn't want the guys who will grind him out. He doesn't want the guys that he thinks will put on a quote-unquote boring fight. And honestly, Khamzat would absolutely dominate this. Like, this is not even going to be close of a fight. Nate is not going to be able to stop the takedowns. He's so much smaller. He could clip Khamzat here and there. He could possibly catch a submission on him. Nate is actually pretty crafty on his back. He's a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist, and in fact, he might be the hardest fight so far in Khamzat's entire career. But hardest fight does not mean it's going to be hard, as rarely anybody has given Khamzat any kind of issues. Now, the reason why this is a smart business move for Dana, the UFC, and for Khamzat is because Nate Diaz has one fight on his contract left. After that fight, he's no longer a UFC fighter, and he's in negotiations with Dana right now. So what is Dana looking to do with booking this fight against Khamzat? Well, Nate is an older guy in the game, and Dana knows that there's opportunities for Nate outside of the UFC to go into boxing, to do other things, and Nate actually doesn't even need to fight anymore. He's made enough money to set himself for other business avenues and just live out the rest of his life. But he wants that one last opportunity to build a guy off Nate's name. Khamzat is the biggest prospect in MMA right now. He is the future cash cow. He is the future Conor McGregor that Dana is looking to build up. Put him up against Nate Diaz, he destroys him, dominates him in front of the casual fans, and now you have a guaranteed superstar on your hands where whenever they fight from then on is going to be a big money fight. And the best thing about Khamzat is he wants to fight often. That's a lot of money the UFC can make off of Khamzat, who wants to be active and can draw the numbers of a superstar. Dana's also going to offer Nate a lot of money to fight Khamzat Chimaev because it's an investment in the future. Doesn't matter what he gives Nate right now because Khamzat's going to dominate him, and that's my investment in the future to get that money back, plus much more, multiple times what I invested in. That is the reason why Dana wants to put this fight together. It's a very smart business move for the UFC. And also entangled in this is the fact that Nate actually has his sights on two opponents. He wanted to fight Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque so far does not have an opponent. He's a top contender of the welterweight division. And it's funny because Dana was telling Nate, hey, we have the best fighters in the world. Let's see how you can hang with the top 5. But now he doesn't really want him to fight the top 5. He wants to fight Khamzat, who's probably going to be number 11 or in the top 10 instead. And Vicente Luque is a much more favorable matchup for Nate Diaz. And then there's another opponent, Tony Ferguson. Nate posted a picture of Tony, which showed everybody that most likely he wants to fight Tony Ferguson, a legend in the game, can also be a very fun fight in the welterweight division, a division that Tony has not fought for a long time. Tony at welterweight has legitimate knockout power, and it might be the move for Tony to rejuvenate himself somewhat of that weight cut. And then Tony later posted this as well, showing that he's also interested to fight at 170 against Nate. So they both want to fight each other, but what did Dana say?
Nothing on Tony. I don't think he's eager to fight right now. I think he's taking some time off.
He said Tony is not looking to fight at the moment. He's not interested in anything right now. But Tony's posting pictures of Nate and saying that he wants to fight at welterweight. This is very interesting because what that shows us is Dana does not want to put Nate up against anybody besides a guy that he could build off Nate's name. Tony Ferguson's even older than Nate. There's no reason for him to build Tony off of Nate's name or Nate build his name off Tony with the last fight on his contract. Theoretically, he doesn't want Nate to win his next fight and he wants the young guy to beat Nate. There's no reason for him to put on the Tony fight unless the fans absolutely want it and Nate turns down Khamzat. I honestly think Dana would rather put on the Vicente Luque fight than the Tony Ferguson fight because Vicente Luque is also young in this game. And if Luque goes out there and beats Nate Diaz, at least he has another future star on his hands who could potentially even go up against Khamzat, Kamaru Usman, and have other big money fights instead of one guy having all the star power, and that is Khamzat Chimaev. Have multiple stars in the welterweight division, which is a star-driven division right now, instead of one huge superstar like they did with Conor McGregor in the past. But it's all up to Nate Diaz. He gets to pick or choose, and Dana's putting a lot of pressure on him now. If Nate goes and turns this fight down, you know how this is going to be spun out. You know exactly what people are going to be saying. You're going to say, oh, Nate's a coward. Oh, he turned down Khamzat. He's scared of Khamzat. And I know Nate doesn't want that narrative put on him, especially when there's a large amount of money on the line. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Of course, Dana is going to put a lot of money in this, give Nate a lot of money to take on Khamzat. And if he turns down that kind of money and Khamzat Chimaev, it will paint a negative narrative on him. And I'm not really talking about the hardcore fans specifically, some of them, of course, are going to think this too, but it's mostly the casual fans. If they find out about this, because Dana's going to be talking about it if it happens, he's going to say, oh, Nate turned on the fight. And the casual fans, of course, are going to know this, because Nate's a big name, Khamzat's a big name. They're tuned in whenever those two names are brought up. The casual fans are going to believe that Nate Diaz is a coward, and he doesn't want any part of Khamzat. Now, as a fan, I personally want to see Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. That's what I want to see. I don't like the older guys going up against the young talent as a fight fan to watch a good fight, because Khamzat versus Nate is probably not going to be a close fight at all. It's going to be absolutely one-sided beatdown. Vicente Luque versus Nate probably could also be that, but in the striking instead. Tony versus Nate is between two legends of the game who've been in it for such a long time, two former Ultimate Fighter champions, two guys that historically have been known to just go forward, put it all on the line, all offense. And it's a fight that Tony Ferguson deserves. Tony Ferguson, at this point of his career, deserves money fights. Chasing the championship, chasing the contenders and stuff is not what should be in Tony's prerogative right now. It should be fights with Nate Diaz. It should be fights with Conor McGregor. It should be fights with Robbie Lawler, like these bigger fights that Tony Ferguson could get before he retires in the sport, because Tony is reaching 39 years old, and that is extremely old when you go from welterweight down. The lower the weight classes go, the more age impacts the fighter, it seems like, because the technical part of each division is much more important the lower the weight classes go. Whereas the higher the weight classes you go, a lot of older guys can rely on their power instead and don't need to be as technical or keep up with the competition with speed and all that stuff. So this is going to be very interesting moving forward. I wonder what Nate is going to do. I wonder if this fight is going to be put together, because there is a battle going on in the negotiations.